Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the final live stream of November 2020. I can't believe that it's the end of November already. This year has flown and dragged at the same time. Let me turn off this banner. All right, so few items to talk about before we get into the real meat of the live stream today. And let me bring up my agenda here. So, yeah, this is the last weekend of November 2020, Thanksgiving weekend here in the US. Everybody seems to go just bat crap crazy and spend money that they don't really have. I've restrained myself this year and I have not purchased anything. Although I will probably yet this afternoon be buying at least one replacement hard drive for my network attached storage box because it's complaining about a drive in an unsafe condition. So I want to get that replaced before something irreversible happens, shall we say. So, all right. My agenda, basic agenda for today, I'm going to try to keep an eye on questions and comments in the chat as we're going through and kind of catch up on those in between each sort of segment that I've got planned out for today. I'm going to look at a few websites. We're going to do a demo. I've got some announcements about some channel changes. And then if we've got time, I've got a couple of other shorter demos to do that are just sort of a filler content to get us out to the end of the 90 minutes. So, so I actually didn't eat too much turkey this year. That's another place that I refrained myself. So I have I actually did two Thanksgivings, one with some close friends that are local to where I'm at, and then family, and it was just a small gathering of immediate family, my nieces, my sister and brother-in-law, and my father. So we kept things pretty small and tight-knit, and then the other one I went to, it was let's see, two, four, about 7, 8 of us. But we've been in contact a little bit throughout the pandemic, and we are pretty tight about the steps that we're taking to stay safe during this whole thing. So I'm really feeling comfortable about where I went and who I was around, and I'm not terribly worried. So, I suppose we should get into this. And everybody, please keep in mind, I will come back to the chat comments, and I will try to keep caught up on that as much as possible. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. I'll just go ahead and blow that up full screen. So, first website I wanted to take a look at. This is something I actually just found today that I thought was kind of interesting. It's called adminpick.com. and it's more of a blog site, um, but they seem to have some interesting content, and they talk about alternative apps and things of that nature. So this one is something that I'm going to be taking a little bit deeper look into, but it came up because of some of the searching I did this morning, which brings me to the second website that I wanted to talk about, alternative2.net. So this has been a very useful site to me, especially when recommending software to people. So if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm not really much on proprietary commercial software. I've got other things I'd rather spend money on, and if there is an open source free alternative, then I'm going to look at it before going down the road of throwing money at a problem. There are a few exceptions, I will openly admit that, but for the most part, I don't use Microsoft Office. I use LibreOffice. I use Firefox instead of Chrome generally. I use OBS Studio for the recorded videos that go on my channel. I use GIMP instead of Photoshop because I'm not really a graphics guy, and GIMP does everything and more than I need. I use a combination of Darktable and Raw Therapy instead of Lightroom. I had purchased a copy of Lightroom years ago, and it just being forced to use it on Mac OS or Windows didn't really set well with me. But at the time, I needed something that would let me edit photos, and the only person that I had around to lend me a hand with some things was a big Adobe person, and so I reluctantly went down that path for Lightroom. But anyways, the point being that alternative2.net has what the name implies, alternatives to other programs. So if you want an alternative to Photoshop, it tells you about Photoshop, and then it starts listing alternatives, and it also has filters. So if you specifically want a Linux program and you want it to be open source, you can filter by both of those options, and then you get GIMP and Krita, MyPaint, and a few of these other ones. So, long story short, alternative2.net is very useful to have in your arsenal of go-to websites, and worth some time to explore, especially if you are in a position where you make software recommendations for family or friends. And with the pandemic going on, people, I have found, are a little bit more approachable when it comes to the suggestion of using free software and open source software, because there's so much uncertainty in the world right now that most people don't want to take on another subscription or pay out a bunch of money for a piece of proprietary software, even if it's a one-time purchase. So, it's kind of a nifty site worth taking a look. All right. Next website that I wanted to look at and talk about a little bit today is Simplynuck.com. And I was just doing some time wasting browsing yesterday, and I came across this site. And we all know that Nucks have pros and cons. They're small form factor, they're low power, but the processors are getting more and more powerful as we move forward. So while this company is primarily an Intel NUC customizer, they also have some small or ultra small form factor AMD systems. Some of them use embedded processors, the embedded Ryzen and things of that nature, which there are some solutions that would call for something like that. Especially if you can get a 4-core 8-thread Ryzen with built-in Radeon graphics, and it's a 25-watt part, and it can drive 2 or up to 4 monitors. There are uses for that kind of system. So, full disclosure, I have not done business with this company, but they have a unique offering, and it's worth taking a look. Good morning, David. Hunting for your NVIDIA board, I see. All right. Well, don't let me stop you. You can listen in the background and continue shopping. I won't hold it against you or anything. Yeah. If you're looking for something small form factor or ultra small form factor, that kind of NUC form factor or similar size, check out simplynuck.com. It's worth at least browsing through their offerings and getting some ideas. And then if you're more the do-it-yourselfer type like I am, you can always take some of those ideas and head over to your favorite retailer, Newegg or Amazon or whatever the case might be, and get the parts yourself and, have that fun and satisfaction of putting it together. The nice thing about these systems is that they are compact, and depending on how some things change for me in the next year or so, I may be relocating, and my space will be much more limited than what it is now. And so something of this size does offer some advantages to me. So I'm keeping options open at the moment, but this is something that's kind of interesting, and I just thought I'd pass it along. All right, let me see where I'm at on my agenda. Now let's look at a couple of other things. All right, How to Forge. If you've never heard of howtoforge.com, you must have been hiding under a rock, or you're new to the game on Linux. How to Forge has some really great tutorials on installing different software. Very much step by step. The web version is free, meaning that their tutorials will be spread across multiple web pages. However, they do have a reasonable rate for a little bit of a subscription, and that subscription allows you to view and download PDF versions of these tutorials, which, for some people, that may be something that offers them some advantages. So I will go on record as saying some of my videos I have at least used the how to forge tutorials as a starting point to build some additional documentation and sometimes some videos from it. So that's worth taking a look at. And the last one I'm going to talk about today at this point is Distrowatch.com. If you've ever wanted to know more about all of the different versions of Linux that are out there, or what's new that you may not have known even existed, or what's been recently updated, Distrowatch.com is going to be your go-to place. They also provide, although not scientific, they provide a top 100 list of Linux distributions. And this is based on the page hit ranking. So again, not scientific. It's, prone to errors due to bots and other things on the internet. And, but it does give you some gauge of popularity of different Linux distributions. Okay, sorry about that. I had to sneeze and cut the mic out to do it. All right. Anything else in chat at the moment? All right. I would definitely be interested in that website at some point, David. If you wanted to either put that in the chat or share it in an email, I would definitely be interested in taking a look. So I suppose I should let everybody else in on what you were saying and not keep everybody in the dark. So yeah, the best NVIDIA card I've got right now is a monstrosity of a used 1050, and yeah, that's my go-to card at the moment. Not really in a market for one of the new ones. Little out of my price range right this moment. So maybe in 2021. Of course, I might just look at a used 1080 Ti instead. Okay, won't let you put it in chat. That's fine. If you can toss it in an email at some point over the course of the next few days, that would be, I would be interested in looking at that. So thank you in advance. Okay, what's next on my agenda? Ah, yes. So I need to bring up my trusty Splashtop software, and we're going to go ahead and connect to my one lone Windows box on the network. And just for the sake of argument, I know I focus a lot on Linux on the channel, and this is sort of a prelude to something else that's coming up in this video today. But my focus on this channel has always been, Linux centric. So that's one thing that's going to slightly change. Not completely, but it's going to slightly change. And one of the ways it's going to change is that for cross-platform software like VirtualBox, I will be doing demos using it on Linux as well. On Windows, and occasionally on Mac OS. So today, I'm going to start this in the background, and we're going to just throw together a turnkey Linux VM of OwnCloud, which I've been more of a Nextcloud person for a bunch of years now, but hey, I don't have to install it from scratch. This is all ready for me. And so we're just going to run through this and give that 25 gigs just for a little bit of breathing room. And again, the process is the same. In Mac OS, these options are across the top. On Windows and Linux, they're along the left side. The options are identical. So we don't need to worry about display because it's a server install. Storage, again, this is just absolutely the same as on Mac OS or Linux. So we've got our optical disk, and we switch networking to bridged. And we'll start that. And while that's doing its thing, I am going to bring myself back on screen. All right, so I'll get this started. All right, so the changes that are coming up for the channel. And I'm not going to do this all at once, and I'm not going to make big, sweeping, drastic changes. So, rest assured about that. But I'm starting what I'm going to call the open source first initiative. And this is just something that I've come up with, and just as an approach, and it's sort of catchy, I guess. And so with this open source first initiative, I will be presenting alternatives, which is part of the reason I brought up alternative2.net, alternative to the usual suspects, aka proprietary software. Because, people, especially during the pandemic, they want to save money. The open source software allows you to preserve your freedom. It's going to be cross-platform in nature, so if it's available for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, I will be mentioning all of those. You will see software reviews installed on a variety of those systems, and I will be able to talk about, how does it differ on one system versus the other. Oh, and I got a kernel panic on my VM. Great. The curse of the live demo rears its head once again. I can't escape it. Okay, so we'll can that for the moment. So after doing some more thinking about it, I am very much adopting the one for me, one for you approach that I talked with David about on our videos that we collaborated on. So, the video for me is going to focus likely more on Linux specific things. And then a video will be made for a wider audience, which might cover something specifically on Windows or Mac OS. Again, leaning towards that open source first type of approach, but trying to open things up to a wider audience as we continue moving towards and into 2021. And so that is the change. It's not a huge change, but it's just moving the ship just a little bit. And excuse me. And I think based on the numbers I've been seeing and some of the other changes I've been making lately, I think this is going to work and be an advantage to everybody. So, hello, Catherine. How are you today? Let's see. I have not actually tried Vivaldi on Ubuntu for Raspberry Pi 4. That might be an interesting experiment over the next week. I've not actually installed the desktop version of Ubuntu on a Pi 4. I did the server version a while back as part of the video I did using the Raspberry Pi 4 as a print server for a particular printer I've got that the built-in network port is flaky. So I thought it would be a good experiment, and it got a fair amount of views to, try to resurrect that printer back into a network printer. Hooking it up to the Raspberry Pi with a USB cable, and then running cups on the Raspberry Pi and sharing that out to the network. And it actually worked really well until I haphazardly went and made some changes and blew it up. But yeah, I did that so you don't have to, and that will eventually get rebuilt here. But I'm just curious why this did not like my computer. Well, let's give it one more shot. Let's give it one more shot. Okay, so obviously that ISO does not like EFI mode. So we'll change that back, which is fine. That was a little bit of an experiment too. I've not actually tried running, I don't know as though I've run anything in VirtualBox on this machine, so I might have to go in and tweak the BIOS settings to get it to run correctly. yeah, I'm going to have to go in and tweak something because this is not happy. Okay, so let's look at this one more time. And Debian 64-bit. I probably don't have something enabled in the BIOS for virtualization. Everything else should work. Or maybe it's a bad ISO. I've had that happen before too, so I'm not going to roll it out. Okay, so much for the Windows demo using VirtualBox. So no smoke, just the virtual machine. I installed some updates on the Raspberry Pi, and it didn't go quite the way I wanted. Let's see. Catherine. Not a traditional VM. You wouldn't want to run that on a Raspberry Pi, but they do support Docker. And there are Docker containers, and there is software out there that makes use of that. Such as, I believe, Has.io is moving towards that for the to make your Raspberry Pi into a home automation controller. So the different pieces of software all run in Docker containers on the Pi. So, but Docker is pretty lightweight compared to a typical traditional VM. So let me quit out of this, and we'll move on to the Ubuntu box, and see what we can do on this. I will apologize in advance. I've got this ultra 16 by 10 ultra widescreen monitor on this particular machine. So things might be a little bit small in the video. So I'll make that full screen just for grins. But I have slowly been customizing the system. This has the potential to take over as my video editing box, because right now this is the machine. There it goes. This is the machine that has my 1050 card in it. Just that's the best card I've got. Some of my equipment is hand-me-down equipment and other second-hand stuff, but hey, you know, it's all good. Part of the enjoyment of Linux is just that I can use it on computers that aren't new, and it runs relatively well. I'm thinking that this may end up on XFCE instead of GNOME, just to be a little lighter weight. But I'm also considering AV Linux, which let me take this out of full screen for a moment. AV Linux, which they have just rebased that on MX Linux. which is in turn based on Debian. It does use an XFCE desktop, but this is a creator-focused Linux distribution, meaning, it's got a lot of your audio and video editing type applications pre-installed and ready to go, so that you can just install and move on forward. So, I'm going to actually be installing this and probably reviewing this in another week or so. And it should be interesting to see, and I'll probably install it on this particular Linux box that I've got, just to see how much lighter weight this is versus Ubuntu 20.04. So let's see. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So, yes, this is Groovy Gorilla, or no, this is Focal, I think, the 2004. Groovy was 20.10. Let's just take a look here, just for the sake of argument, because it should tell us. This is the 2004 version, which I believe is Focal. Yes, Focal Fossa. So, I was pleasantly surprised once I got the proprietary NVIDIA drivers installed. The interface is quite a bit snappier, but this particular machine only has 6 gigs of RAM currently installed. So I am somewhat RAM limited on this machine right at the moment. And I'm just looking at some options, whether I want to expand the RAM in this system or whether I want to put money into a different system that I've got. But it does have the ability to run OBS fairly decently. This was the box I was using when I was trying to do streaming with a 2-computer system. One actually, this one actually being the encoder system that actually pushed all the data to the internet. And then my Mac Mini, that was actually where I was controlling stuff from. So the setup itself worked okay. The limiting factor in that was my my upload speed, which is awful for the US, but I had a man from Israel leave comments on one of my videos, and compared to what they've got for upload and download speed in Israel, I am quite humbled with the speed I've got. So if you ever feel that your internet connection is too slow, then but before you go and throw money at that problem, at least take a moment and sit back and consider that people in other countries have it worse, have it much worse as far as availability and just sheer speed and stability. So I don't have much on this box right now. I've got OpenRA because I loved Dune 2000. I thought it was a great game. Well, actually, I played Dune 2 on my Amiga back in the day, but Dune 2000 was an updated version. They had a release on the PlayStation 1, I believe it was, of Dune 2000, and of course it was a PC game as well. And they've open sourced it, so or there is an open source version of the engine that ran that, and people have ported over the graphic files and without some of the cutscenes, but hey, it's all good. And cutscenes from 20 plus years ago weren't that wonderful to begin with. So I've got a solitaire game on here, and I do have Steam, which this actually does all right, considering what the system is. And this is slower because I am connected through a remote desktop type software to this machine that's in the next room. But I don't play a lot of Steam, and the games I do play are more like Train Fever and Prison Architect. And this is the first time I've installed Steam in 2+ years on any of my machines. So I had to get their little code and get that all put back in to verify, my account hadn't been taken over by some rando person. But Steam does run on here. This is the what they call their big picture mode. So it's interesting. But anyways, my goal wasn't to get into gaming on this channel, and it's still not a goal. Just kind of showing off what I've got on this system, and not a lot right now. So this will be changing after a while, and getting some updates, and see where things land from there. So that I guess was all I really wanted to show on that machine. So yes, Good Old Games. I've looked at some of their stuff, and I've had some of their stuff downloaded in the past. I don't have anything currently from them. I don't do a lot of gaming. I'm a very, very casual gamer. And with the other projects I've been working on lately, it hasn't been a priority in my life. I guess I'll just put it that way. Hasn't been a priority in my life. So, let's see. We're at 11:45. Let me check my agenda list. So yeah, the Ubuntu box will be making a more of an appearance going forward. And I think my plan is still a little bit in flux, but I think the way I'm going to be approaching some of this stuff, it will be interesting for people to watch and hopefully still entertaining for me to make to some level. So let's see. Well, so I was going to do a demo of the Wsus offline updater, and I'd built out a new container on Proxmox to facilitate that. But that kind of had the kibosh put on it because that project has been changing some, and it's not quite as available as it once was. And this is due in part to some of the changes Microsoft has been making with Windows 10 over the course of the last year or so, and it has part of it is to do with the maintainer of the software. So if you're not familiar with what this was, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an offline updater for Windows systems. So it would let you'd have to have a computer online. You download the updates, it saves them, and then you could dump it off on an external hard drive and take that to a Windows system that may not be connected to the internet. The owner may be on metered internet, like a mobile hotspot, and it allowed you to keep Windows systems updated without having to download all the updates on every single system. And so there is a community edition version floating around now. Excuse me. But I've got to look into this a little bit more. And find out exactly what I need to do to download and get this installed. Since it has, they have made some changes since the last time I did a video on this. And before I try to do a demo, I want to make sure that I know what to expect first. So obviously I didn't do so well on that with the Windows VirtualBox demo. So I'm not going to really attempt this without doing a dry run beforehand. But the project is still out there. Let's see. There we go. WSUS offline update. And so the most recent version is 12.03.2020. Or excuse me. So that would be March 12th of 2020, version 12 for the official version, and then there is a community edition floating around that I have not used up to this point. It is more up to date, and so that's something I'll be taking a look at. Might be a video later this week, might be something for the following week, but it is something I'm going to be taking a look at and at least reporting back on what my findings have been, and see if it's even an option anymore. So the last time I ran this, it was some features had been removed, and I just want to make sure that this is even worth the time and effort to move forward with anymore. So, and does make it a little interesting because I only took 1 year of German in high school, and my German was never that great to begin with. And I am very thankful for Google Translate, because I would be a little stuck without Google Translate these days. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions, any topic suggestions, anything of that nature that they want to throw out there in the chat for discussion? So, if not, we can look at a few news sites, and we might wrap this up by 12:15. Every site's got political these days. Will Tesla update bring remote access to car cameras? That's kind of a scary thought. Let's see. What happened after Silicon Valley tried to make telecommuting permanent? Oh my. Leave it to California. Let's see. Conspiracy theorists. The Growl notification system on macOS is retired after 17 years. New video game bug turns Spider-Man into a trash can. All right. Well, this is interesting. Raspberry Pi used to hack Tesla Model X SUV key fob. Yeah. See if brother in baldness Elon Musk decides to or no, it's Jeff Bezos that's bald. Let's see if Elon Musk decides to go after people with Raspberry Pis hacking their cars. Nothing would surprise me. I'll take a shot at your issue, Catherine, if you want to share it with the class, so to speak. And I may take you up on that offer to help me with German. my German ancestors came over to the States in like the late 1800s, like the 1880s, I believe it was. So by the time I was born, nobody in the family spoke any German anymore. So it's kind of a lost thing. But both of my brothers and we all took at least a year of German in high school. So, what's your Linux problem or question, Catherine? I'm willing to take a stab at it. Oh, let's see. Anything else interesting on the news sites? Is this actually news? OpenOffice still gets 1.5 million downloads per month despite being discontinued. Now, see, I didn't know it was officially discontinued. I know it hasn't been updated in a number of years, um, but I didn't know it was officially discontinued. It may as well have been discontinued. Um, it only had bug fix releases in 2018 and 2019. So while OpenOffice is still on version 4.1.7, uh, LibreOffice is on version 7.0.3, I think, is the newest version, and 7.1 is either in alpha or beta testing currently. Mm. Yeah, the last name kind of gives it away. Of course, I have to give most people a 20-second German lesson. At least the way my teacher in high school told us that usually in German names, the second vowel is the long sound when you have two vowels next to each other. Um, so, so let's see. Um, Warning: apt key is deprecated. Manage keyring files in trusted.gpg.d instead. I'm not sure I've ever had that error message come up on my systems. Can you give me a little bit more context on what you were doing when it happened? Um, I don't add a lot of keys to my systems normally. A lot of my Linux systems end up getting used for very basic things, and the others are usually test VMs and test boxes that I reinstall quite frequently. So Um, I can't say that I've had that specific error message. So, um, okay, so adding uh, keys for repositories. So yeah, I guess I haven't run into this particular scenario on my systems, or if I have, when I did, it was just a matter of muscle memory that got me through it. Um, Running apt-get update upgrade. Huh. Um, well, I'm not going to say I'm that intelligent when it comes to Linux. I've encountered a lot of people that know a lot more than I do. Um, I've been doing this for what 23 odd years now, and the things that I know, it's all just muscle memory, and um, I can practically do a lot of these things in my sleep. So, which in some cases has been a good thing, because there are nights that I end up working until 1 o'clock in the morning on some of this stuff, and uh, when I should be sleeping. So, and the other thing, I think, with at least the desktop versions of Linux, they have the let me bring my Linux box back up. They have the repository manager built in, and so that takes some of the need off from using the command line stuff. I don't use this a lot. Yeah, the Ubuntu Software App. I've used this occasionally. No, that's not what I wanted either. I'm having a day of it. Let's see. That's the one I want. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so the software and updates app, I mean, you can add from here as well. And yeah, I haven't. Most of my software that I get is from the main repositories. I most of the time I don't even have multiverse enabled, um, let alone repositories from third party developers. But um, yeah, it's it's interesting the way this stuff all changes. Um, so um, I don't know as though I'd necessarily recommend reinstalling Ubuntu unless you're having other issues with it. Uh, but if the error message continues to come up, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Thankfully, the Ubuntu installs go fairly quick on most systems. Um, but yeah, that's I'll take a look at a couple other resources and see if I can track down any additional information on that particular error message. Um, yeah, I think to get Steam installed, I had to enable multiverse, but that was it didn't cause me any errors on this particular machine. So that's a good question. Um, yeah, if it's not running well, I would back up any documents and things you've got on that machine and just reinstall it and see if things run better after you reinstall. I've done that more times over the years than I'd like to admit. Um, uh, but a lot of that has been more out of choice than out of necessity. Uh, just because once I had a fast enough internet connection where I could download as many ISO images as I wanted, I would start trying different Linux distributions. And thankfully, virtualization came around when it did on PCs because if I had to bare metal all of this and install from scratch, I would probably not have done near as much as I have. I'm very thankful for VirtualBox and um, Proxmox, and I've used VMware early on. I don't know, 99, 2000, 2001 era. Um, VMware's first product was actually um, just called VMware, and um, I had that running on one of the first Linux boxes I had, and I'm not even sure if there was a Windows version at that time or if it was just available on Linux in the beginning. But that product later morphed into what they're now calling the VMware Workstation, which they charge a Okay. Well, let's see. Blow me back up again. All right. Well, we have made it. It's about almost quarter after 12 here in the Eastern time zone, anyways. Um, let's see. So you've got your new motherboard, David. X570 Pro Tough Gaming Wi-Fi board. Very nice. Very nice. I've still got a love-hate relationship with Asus. Um, I bought their top-of-the-line board for the AM3 or 3 Plus platform, or socket, I should say, back in the day, and paid a good amount of money for it. I was a college student at the time. I had worked for a month and a half at the for the school to help freshman students get their computers online and on the hooked up to the campus network and all that that entailed, and made some decent money doing it, and decided to build a computer. And so I ordered this. I don't even know the model number off the top of my head anymore. But oops. Um, Regardless, I bought the board and my CPU, and put this machine together. Didn't do bupkis. Just stared at me and didn't do anything. So I RMA'd the board, and they claimed that it checked out, and I got it back, hooked everything back up again, still nothing. And so I ended up going down to the one local shop that had parts in that city, and I bought it was another Asus board, but it was their micro ATX board, lower to mid range micro ATX board at the time. Dropped my CPU in that, my RAM, and the thing fired up on the first try. So I've still got sort of a love-hate relationship with Asus since that time. And when I have purchased motherboards since then, I've normally gone either Gigabyte or MSI. So, yeah, I just, I know a lot of people love Asus, but, I mean, that was like a $260 motherboard, and um, it's just sat in a box because I couldn't make it work. And that's the only time in the first system I built was actually for somebody else, and that was in 1995. So in like 25 years of building computers for people, that was the one and only system that I never got to work. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they ever really tested it correctly, but um, I worked on that and worked on that, and you know, with classes starting at the time, I couldn't waste any more time on it, and I think the micro ATX board I got to replace it was like $79, and yeah, like I said, that fired up on the first try. Um, yeah, I purchased quite a few things from Newegg over the years, and they were always decent to work with. So I miss I miss Tiger Direct. They're really a shell of what they used to be. Um, I don't know, late '90s. I ordered quite a bit of stuff from them for different systems and for people that I was helping out. And they were always great to work with, and they had a lot of budget friendly do it yourself bundles that were really um, quite decent for just an average desktop PC of that era. But um, the the new owners of Tiger Direct have taken more of a business centric approach with it, and they don't have the kits like they used to. But you know, of course, that was the days before all these boutique uh, PC builders, you know, for all these gaming systems popped up online, and um, yeah. Yeah, you're right, Catherine. It might have been a BIOS issue. They did claim that they updated the BIOS while they had it at the shop, but um, it never made any difference for me. Um, yeah, I'd heard a Chinese company took over Newegg. It's disappointing. Um, you know, I know that fries in a lot of cities is getting to be rather pathetic. Lots of bare shelves from what I've been hearing from people. And I used to view fries as like geek mecca, where I would go visit the one in Downers Grove, Illinois, once a year to at least spend an hour looking around. But you know they seem to be on their way down the drain, and so that leaves Micro Center, which it's about an 80 to 90-minute drive from where I'm at to get to the closest Micro Center to me, which is down in the Detroit area. And well, as long as they're not sending over any Chinese people in the same shipping containers, you're probably okay, David. Um, uh, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Fries has been going down fast. I really need to make another trip down to Micro Center down in the Detroit area and spend an afternoon just looking around that place. I've been to that micro center, and then one in the Chicago area, north of the city. And that one was pretty impressive. Um, Much cleaner than the one in the Detroit area. I will say it that way. um, yes, that you are lucky. I don't have anything within a 15-minute drive other than a Best Buy, and it's been more than a year since I've given them any money. I'll say that it's been more than a year since I've given Best Buy any money. They're kind of a last resort. If I need something same day, I will consider it. Um, and 3 micro centers within an hour. Oh, that must be nice. You could spend a day and hit all 3 of them easily. Um, I'd have to go from Detroit to down into Indiana, I think is the next closest one to where I'm at. So, on that note, if there aren't any other questions, I will go ahead and wrap this up for today. For anybody that's made it to the end of the video, let's see, hold that thought just a moment. Plan to do video the next week to 10 days on all the parts I plan to use. Okay, I will be on the lookout for that. You may have seen the video you dropped this morning. I've already commented on that one. I may actually pick one of those devices up. So, yeah, on that note, for anybody that's made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. If you like the video, please take a moment and give a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications of upcoming videos. I will admit I kind of shot myself in the foot on this live stream today because I was so busy with other things through the course of the week and with the holidays that I didn't get any promotion put out on social media until yesterday evening and going into this morning. So that was bad on my part, but I want to thank you, David and Catherine, both for coming out, and for, let's see, who do we have up here? Jacob and Poe as well for kicking off the chat this morning. And in the meantime, before next week's live stream, I will have at least one video coming out this week. And I will be working, hopefully yet today, to get the social media promotion going for next week's live stream, and hopefully we can bounce this up a little bit bigger, similar to what we did last week. On that note, thanks once again for coming out, and have a great week. Stay safe and happy computing. Have a great day, everybody.